2 NASA astronauts, a JAXA astronaut, and 1 cosmonaut will be headed up to the International Space Station.
We copy on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
1-0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, roger, go for deploy.
Everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Hothead, nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
Good afternoon and welcome to America's Spaceport here in Florida. You're looking live at Launch Pad 39A here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where Crew-10 is in the process of suiting up for their mission. Today's T0, updated to the second at 7:48 and 56 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. That is when Dragon, a spacecraft sitting on top of the Falcon 9 rocket, will launch them to the International Space Station. Crew-10 is a continuation of regular crewed flights from the U.S. soil to station as part of NASA's Commercial Crew program. As we look at the historic countdown clock and shift to an orbiting shot from our helicopter team here at the Kennedy Space Center. Hello and good afternoon. I'm NASA's Daryl Nail, and this is the official launch broadcast of Crew-10. With me to help commentate through the next 4.5 hours is Jessica Meir, NASA astronaut who just did it not too long ago on Crew-7. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you, Daryl. It is wonderful to be here, as always, with my close friends and colleagues heading off to space. It's so wonderful and meaningful to play a part of that role in sending them off.
How about this view of the rocket as we orbit around it? Such a great shot there, seeing the perfect weather that is outside.
Absolutely. It feels so nice outside, doesn't it? Coming from Houston and Florida, usually we're fighting the heat and humidity, and everything just seems to be lining up perfectly today.
We're looking good so far. The mission today, we are flying NASA astronaut Commander Ann McClain, NASA astronaut pilot Nicole Ayers, JAXA astronaut mission specialist Takuya Onishi, and Roscosmos cosmonaut mission specialist Kirill Peskov. Today, the crew's ride to space is the Dragon Endurance spacecraft. Its 4th flight to space, and all 4 carried crews for NASA. That's back in the rotation. It wasn't initially. It was swapped out because a new capsule that SpaceX had built wasn't quite ready yet, so they swapped it out with the capsule that was going to go on Axiom 4.
Yeah, that's right. So we had a few late-breaking changes, but as astronauts, we are always ready for that. Flexibility is really the name of the game. So we take it as it goes, knowing things can always change. But this is the fleet leader, right? So this is the first time we've used a capsule 4 times for a crewed mission. So exciting event today for my colleagues.
It's reliable, and the Commercial Crew program and NASA knows this spacecraft well, as you mentioned.
This is LD on Countdown Net with a T-minus 4-hour situational awareness briefing. We're currently counting down to a T0 of 19:48:57 UTC and 23:48:57 UTC, 19:48:57 local, with a minimum of 2 launch opportunities for Thursday and Friday for backup attempts. The crew are currently getting suited up at ONC. The advanced team is currently on the way to the pad to open the side hatch and prepare for crew arrival. Vehicle gases are up, FTS checkouts are complete, and Dragon prop tanks are pressed. Falcon 9 is not working issues at this time, however, hydraulics is undergoing final release bleeds to the system for readiness for flight. Weather is looking favorable at the launch site. The launch ascent weather with meteorological input was used to tune the forecast model, showing a failure possible risk of 14.6% and grow criteria for flight today. Procedure 52.911 is open in the event of crew contingencies from ingress through launch. And as a reminder, the launch escape system will be armed prior to propellant load today. Hangar X will go into lockdown T-minus 45 minutes until after spacecraft separation or the launch escape system is disarmed. All personnel are requested to stay in their state locations until lockdown is complete.
All right, that was an update.
MC, do you have a report on Falcon 9 health?
Falcon is healthy and not tracking any issues.
And MD, do you have a report on Dragon health?
Dragon is healthy and not tracking any issues.
This will conclude the T-minus 4-hour situational awareness briefing unless there are any other questions.
Okay, we were just briefed by the launch director for SpaceX, and it was a good brief as we now find ourselves inside the suit-up room as the 4 members of Crew-10 are getting ready. They've got the main part of their suits
countdown. Advanced team is open side hatch on schedule.
And they are putting on the remaining parts of their suits, the gloves, the boots. We will be hearing from time to time, as you just heard, communications, what we call loops. This is the command loop that will hear the launch director communicate with his crew, as well as the core. When they talk to the astronauts, we'll hear the back and forth once they get into their spacecraft. Just want to make you aware that whenever they have an update, we will pause our commentary so we can listen in. Over the next 4.5 hours, we will walk you through this detailed pre-launch operation and show you all the action live as it's happening from the suit-up room to liftoff. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the background of our co-host today. In 2019, Jessica Meir went out into space for a historic spacewalk. This was back, you launched on a Soyuz, went up to the International Space Station. You and your fellow astronaut, Christina Cook. We'll have that video for you in a second. In the meantime, we are looking at the commander and the pilot for Crew-10 on the left and McLean on the right, pilot Nicole Ayres. And there's Jessica, working hard on the International Space Station. Jessica Meir was doing this spacewalk conducted entirely by women. She partnered with fellow astronaut Christina Cook to replace a battery charge discharge unit. 2 years later, here she is in the role of astronaut support person. This is a taped replay. There she is snapping photos in jumpsuit number 38. Went all the way out to the launch tower. There she is again, saying goodbye to the Crew-2 at the time, helping them with everything they needed. And then Meir served as the assistant to the chief astronaut for Commercial Crew, and then helped out with the Artemis II astronauts. This was most recently, and there you are, right in the left part of the screen, helping out the Artemis II crew as they got ready for a dress rehearsal for the Artemis II mission, which is planned in February of next year. You also, at the time, were serving as the chief astronaut for the Human Landing System.
Yeah, I think, this is one of the most exciting things about being an astronaut to me is that we serve many different roles depending on what time it is. So we really gain this incredibly diverse skill set and exposure to all of these different space vehicles, all of these different technologies, and all of the different branches really that we have at the Johnson Space Center. We have ground support astronauts that serve in all of those capacities to help all the different programs and pieces of hardware, technical programs, all the way through, give that crew perspective and be able to provide some information for that. Here you can see in the suit-up room, there's Takuya Onishi and there's Christina Birch. She is the astronaut support person today for Crew-10. She's one of Nicole Ayres' Vapors classmates, so they're the newest class of astronauts that flies, and she's helping out with everything for getting the crew ready for launch.
That must be comforting for Nicole, who sees a fellow classmate who, becomes quite close with your astronaut classmates. She's also the first to fly from that class, so she's taking some stuff on board, some mementos for some of her classmates, which is a nice touch. But speaking of classmates, you too have a classmate and it's the woman who is serving as commander for this mission, Anne McLean.
Yeah, there she is in the screen right now. Looks like she is conducting the pressure check of her spacesuit right now. That's why they're positioned there comfortably in the same chairs that they'll have on the launch vehicle with all the same interfaces, going through that last check to make sure that their suits are indeed pressure tight. We do that on all the vehicles we fly on to make sure things are in good shape. But as you said, incredibly special for me since Anne is one of my closest people here on Earth, whether outside or inside NASA. So it's so exciting to be here with her today. Over the last 11 and a half years that we've been here now, we've really become like family. So I know all of my classmates are so excited and paying attention, watching along to send back up to space again.
I imagine it's going to be quite special when we go outside to watch that rocket lift off.
Absolutely. And we know the 8 Balls, that's our class name. We have another classmate up there right now, too. Nick Hague is also one of our classmates. So Anne and Nick will have a wonderful high-five moment as they have their handover of a couple days on the space station.
And then Nick Hague and his crew, the fellow crew members of Crew-9, will be coming home. Talk a little bit about the suit-up room. It's one of many rooms on the 3rd floor of the Neil A. Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building that make up crew quarters. The crew has been living and working in the crew quarters for more than a week now.
There's a lot of history in that building. It's always nice when you come here for a visit to KSC for whatever task you're here for. We usually stay in that facility, and there's a lot of history going, way back to the shuttle days, and all the rooms are, I think, pretty much decorated in the same way. So you're part of that spaceflight history.
It has a dorm room kind of feel, does it not?
It does, absolutely.
Let's talk about the weather and give you an update that was given to the crew just about 20 minutes ago. The temperature here is a lovely 67 degrees. We're expecting it to get into the 70s later today. Winds 12 to 17 miles per hour out of the southeast. The concerns, there are none. This is 95% go. It's a high pressure system that's come into the area and just literally been a big bubble of no trouble, as I hear weathermen call it. It just clears everything out. We've got 20 miles visibility today, so it's going to be really nice for anybody who's here in the area to watch this launch and further out from the area as well.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about launching here on the Space Coast, is that even if you don't have an invitation to come be with the family and friends of the crew, you can watch it pretty much from anywhere. All the local beaches, bridges. It is a fantastic way for everybody to be able to play a part in what we're doing here. When I launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on a Soyuz, a little bit more difficult to get access to that. So yeah. This is really, really amazing that we can have so many people really involved in the mission and watching this incredible rocket light off.
Before the crew came in here, they had their meals. Of course, the crew members get to dial up their ultimate meal and have the chefs here at the Kennedy Space Center cook up their favorite dish before they fly.
You know what they had?
What's that?
Do you know what they had this time?
So Anne McLean, I sent the questions earlier and she hadn't exactly decided, but she did want to give a big shout out to the staff at the Astronaut Quarantine Facility, who she says has been providing them with some amazing meals in the days leading up to launch. She says the food is as close to home cooked as we can get. Takoya said he's going to have a Japanese dish. He hadn't decided exactly which one.
I think that they actually had fajitas. Anne told me last night that it ended up being fajitas. Nice. They were excited about it. And I know that one of the things that Tak has planned for them on station is that he has a whole bunch of Japanese food that he's going to share with the crew.
Core on countdown. Lyos seals removed and installation complete. On schedule.
He mentioned in a news conference that that was important to him, was to share the food from his country with his fellow crewmates.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a bit of a foodie, so food's always important to me. But even people who don't care so much about food really do pay attention to it in space. And I think that's just, kind of because of the monotony. When you have a lot of variety, it can really make a lot of difference to your morale and your overall psychological state. So having a little bit of personal touch is really awesome. We trade food items with the Russian crew members, and then if we have any international partners like Tak, they'll have some Japanese food to share. I flew with Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano. He brought up a special Italian meal for us during my expedition. And also Hazza Ali El-Mansouri, the very first astronaut from the UAE, he launched with me to the space station. And so they had some very special foods from the UAE as well that we all had to share and have a group meal. So those kinds of things are really, really special.
Well, you were eating good.
We were.
As you folks can tell, Jessica Meir has a tremendous wealth of information and experience in space. And so if you want to ask her a question about today's mission or her experience on her time on the International Space Station, just send us the question to #AskNASA. You can see it there on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Twitch. Use that hashtag to get your question in. We'd love to have your question because Jessica is so good at answering them, and it'll help move us along as we go through the rest of the day and counting down this liftoff of Crew-10 at 7:48 p.m. Eastern Time. There's Kirill Preskov. I saw Anne McLean. There she is, the commander on the right, going around, giving each one of her crew members a fist bump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of crew morale and camaraderie gets stronger and stronger and stronger as we go. And, when you're leading up to this ultimate moment before a launch, I know that their crew has had such an incredible time training together. Every time I see photos of them, they're laughing. I think they all have a great sense of humor, and they're having a lot of fun the whole way through. There's our boss, Joe Akaba, current chief of the astronaut office.
Let's talk about each one of these crew members. NASA astronaut Anne McLean. She is your Crew-10 commander, as we mentioned. Born and raised in Spokane, Washington, NASA selected Anne as an astronaut candidate in 2013. Crew-10 will be her second space flight after launching aboard the Soyuz MS-11 in 2018 and serving as flight engineer on the International Space Station for Expedition 58 and 59. In total, she spent 204 days in space and completed 2 spacewalks, totaling 13 hours and 8 minutes, and is a West Point graduate and a colonel in the U.S. Army, a highly decorated Master Army aviator, and has more than 2,000 flight hours in 20 different aircraft. She's also an avid rugby player and former member of the USA Rugby women's national team. And of course, she currently lives in Houston, Texas, with all the astronauts.
It's really a great thing to see Anne in this leadership role. I think everyone in our office, and particularly our classmates, know that Anne is just one of those natural-born leaders. So this is exactly where she should be today, and I know that her crew is in such incredible hands. One fun story from Anne. Apparently in high school, she once, with a friend, ordered a pizza that was so big she couldn't fit it in the car. So, because she is the leader and problem solver that she is, she sat in the driver's seat with one hand on the steering wheel and the other hand holding the pizza on top of the car, her left hand out of the window, and then her friend sat in the right with her right hand outside. So they held the pizza and transported it that way. So as you can see, Anne is very well trained, has a lot of experience in transporting things in complex manners.
Look at that. As she puts the mission sticker onto the footrest of the suit-up room there.
Oh, she's got to get it exactly straight.
Yeah. Detail-oriented. That's exactly what you want from your commander.
Absolutely.
I once moved a mattress that way, Jessica, but I wouldn't recommend it. I was in college. Didn't do some smart things. Atta girl, Ann. Way to go. All right, let's talk about our pilot now. The pilot for Crew-10 is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers. Crew-10 mission will be the first spaceflight for Nicole, a major in the U.S. Air Force and the first member of NASA's 2021 astronaut class named to a crew. A graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Nicole served as an instructor pilot and mission commander in the T-38 and the F-22 Raptor, leading multinational and multi-service missions worldwide. She has more than 1,400 total flight hours, including more than 200 in combat. Nicole has a twin and was born in San Diego, California.
We mentioned earlier about classmates, and we saw Nicole Ayers and her classmate Christina Birch and my classmate Anne. And another thing that Anne and I have in common is that we actually were on the selection board for Nicole and Christina's class.
How about that?
So that makes us, I think, as individuals, really even more invested in them, in their success, and really just feel responsible. And, you know, especially now that Anne is flying with Nicole, as she said so eloquently, we live with our choices. So, you know, we know that we definitely got it right with this class, but just that level of personal investment is so incredibly satisfying for us to be, you know, working with these astronauts now, that, you know, be kind of trying to mentor them and help shape them into these fine young astronauts on their first mission. So it's really, I would say, one of the most gratifying parts now after being here for 11 and a half years is having that mentorship role. And I know that's so important to Anne, and it's made for a wonderful relationship with her and Nicole.
Wow. Truly invested in this mission, both of you, on multiple different levels. Let's talk now about Takuya Onishi. This will be the second mission for Takuya, going to the space station. He's a JAXA astronaut. He launched aboard the Soyuz MS-01 mission in 2016 and spent 113 days in space as a flight engineer for expeditions 48 and 49. Onishi received a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Aeronautical and Space Engineering from the University of Tokyo, and soon embarked on a career in aviation with All Nippon Airways in Tokyo. He was selected as an astronaut candidate by JAXA in 2009, and during his stay on the space station, he became the first Japanese astronaut to capture the Cygnus spacecraft in space. When he's not training, Onishi enjoys flying, playing the saxophone, movies, and hiking.
Well, another fun fact for you, Daryl. Did you know that Tak actually has an asteroid named after him as well?
I did not know that. Are you serious?
Absolutely, yeah. So another thing to add
How did
to
that
his
come
incredibly,
about?
you know, I'm actually not sure of the whole story, so we'll have to dig into that one a little bit more. And also, I think there are a lot of things that show what a dedicated person he is. You know, before he started his flight training, I think there were some nuances with the schedule, and so he was hired for his role, and he was about to start flight training. So instead, he was actually working as a check-in attendant at the airport while he was waiting for that. So he has seen all different phases and levels of the aviation industry, and that's another thing that's so important to this crew. As you've noticed, there's a trend so far, right? They actually have, all four of them are professional aviators, whether military aviators or in the commercial sector. So really cool part, which I think allows them, and I know the crew has told me, allows them to really have this synchronization of communication. You know, they really do all speak the same language, and I think that's helped them a lot without their training, and I'm sure it will continue throughout the mission.
The first time
Core
we've had...
countdown to dawning and checkouts complete, on schedule.
Good to hear that we're on time. First time that we've had 4 pilots on a crewed mission, all 4 of them able to fly, which is impressive. Lastly, this is mission specialist and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. His first flight, the Crew-10 mission, will also take him to the International Space Station for the first time. Before his selection as a cosmonaut in 2018, he was a co-pilot on the Boeing 757 and 767 aircraft for airlines Nordwind and ICAR. Assigned as a test cosmonaut in 2020, he has additional experience in skydiving, zero-gravity training, scuba diving, and wilderness survival.
You know, I haven't had the opportunity to work with Kirill since he's one of the newer cosmonauts, but I've heard such wonderful things. Everybody really comments on his sense of humor and adventure. Apparently, he is always setting off in his SUV and driving all around various parts of Russia, and continued that tradition here in the U.S. when he was here for training as well. And he actually his father was a pilot, and his mother was a meteorologist on the airfield. So it seems like his fate really was lying there in aviation. But a funny story, apparently when he was young, he was asked if he wanted to be a pilot like his father. And he said, no, it's too dangerous. I want to be a train conductor because a train goes onto the tracks and is safe.
Boy, something changed.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Absolutely. Clearly, he has become an incredible explorer and adventurer, and I would say he's no longer afraid of flying.
No doubt. Well, he's getting the flight of a lifetime today. Everyone you see in the room wearing the black ninja suits, they are SpaceX employees, with the exception of this fine astronaut right here. That is Chris Birch. Her call sign is Vapor. And
Stretch.
Stretch.
Yeah,
Vapor is Nicole Ayers. You're right. But she's in the role of astronaut support person today.
Yeah, that's right. So she has been in quarantine with them, helping, complete any of the tasks that she can along the way.